New York is once again at the center of the diplomatic universe as world leaders descend at the UN for the 80th General Assembly. The anniversary should celebrate global cooperation, yet the gathering underscores a stark question. Whose UN is this, and does it still have the authority to shape outcome in a fractured world? More than 140 leaders, including nearly 90 heads of state, 43 heads of government, and one crown prince, are expected to speak. The issues on the table are vast. The ongoing war in Gaza, Ukraine, Iran's nuclear program to NATO-Russia tension. Now, the ongoing conflict in Gaza has already dominated the assembly. A high-profile meeting chaired by France and Saudi Arabia focused on garnering support for a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The hours-long conference ended late Monday, with several countries including France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta and Monaco announcing or confirming their recognition of a Palestinian state. But the meeting and the expanded recognition of Palestinian statehood will likely have little, if any, actual impact on the ground. The speeches at the UN will see this schism play out publicly, with Palestinian authorities seeking legitimacy and Israel defending its security operations, leaving the UN largely as a spectator to the impasse. While not the newest crisis, the war in Ukraine remains a central conflict challenging the post-war order. World leaders, especially from Europe, will use their podium time to condemn Russian aggression and reaffirm support for Ukrainian sovereignty. However, with the war fatigue setting in and the Western military aid facing delays, the Ukrainian delegation is fighting not just on the battlefield but also for continued diplomatic and financial attention. The session will also spotlight South Asia. On September 26, Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is scheduled to address the General Assembly, expected to make anti-India remarks. And by tradition, India will field its youngest diplomat to respond and expose Pakistan's narrative. The following day, September 27th, India's Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will deliver his address emphasizing India's position on global peace, regional security, and its commitment to multilateral engagement. This exchange highlights how the UNGA remains a forum where long-standing bilateral tensions are played out on a global stage. The session also marks the return of US President Donald Trump, who will speak on the opening day, drawing global attention to America's approach to Ukraine, Gaza, and funding the UN agencies. Iran and Syria will headline Wednesday's address from the Middle East. The diplomacy happening behind the scene is just as consequential. More than 1,600 bilateral meetings are scheduled where trade deals, security agreements, and normalization talks are quietly being negotiated. The 80th session, despite its pageantry, underscores that the UN is far from a neutral stage. Conflicts in Gaza, Ukraine, and Indo-Pacific, coupled with strategic rivalries and domestic politics of member states, shape how global diplomacy unfolds. The Assembly offers a mix of theatrical addresses, substantive negotiations, and quiet maneuvering. A reminder that UN's power often lies in its ability to convene rather than enforce global decisions. As world leaders, the UNGA's proceedings this week will reveal both the promise and the limits of multilateralism. From UN confrontation to backroom deals, the Assembly remains a mirror of global power dynamics, and at 80 years old, continues to provoke a critical question: whose UN is it really?